beautiful women are stupid. And yeah, I said it. Unfortunately, it's a default setting a lot of us have. It loads into our brain before we even say a single word, before anyone's checked your resume or asked her a real question. And the interesting part is that it doesn't even require her to be unbelievably gorgeous. Plenty of women get perceived as vapid just for being polished, looking put together, aware of how they look. So if it's not really about her face, what's the variable everyone's actually reacting to? I promise you, it has nothing to do with bone structure. Beauty behaves like capital in our society. It is an asset. It moves markets, it opens doors, and just like every other form of capital on the planet, it gets taxed the second someone can see it. The question isn't whether you have it. The question is whether you know how it's being priced against you in every single room you walk into. So let's get specific about who's actually paying that tax. So pour a cup of tea while I paint a few pictures for you. First, there's the influencer, right? She's beautiful. She's on all the popular social platforms. She's built an audience, and every single comment on her page is about her hair, her skin, her outfits, the places she visits. You see, this influencer wants to be taken seriously as a business owner. She wants to take her influence and turn it into a personal brand, perhaps one day. But nobody's asking her about her business. They're asking about what foundation she uses or what brand she bought her lipstick from. Now we have another individual, and she is our pageant queen, or really any woman in a beauty adjacent space. She's beautiful in the classic pageant sense, genuinely striking to look at. But the moment she opens her mouth in an interview or on stage, what she says is not landing with the audience. She's never really taken the time to develop her speaking voice, her interview voice, her poise, her presence, the substance underneath all of that beauty. And so she gets underestimated the second she stops posing. Our third person is the corporate woman. See, she's beautiful and she's sharp. She's extremely capable. She's worked hard to get to where she is in corporate America. But in every meeting, unfortunately, her looks relegate her to just the pretty one. And her brilliant ideas get repeated by other people with not as much capability as she has, and they get credited with brilliance. She can't figure out why her competence isn't landing, and it's because the room has decided who she was before she even opened her mouth. And fourth, there's the entrepreneur. She's building a personal brand, and her content is striking. It's beautiful. She did a fantastic job with her brand design, but there's no depth sitting underneath it. She's leaning entirely on her image or her brand colors, and it's actually capping her growth because an audience can only pay for aesthetics for so long before they want to know what's actually underneath all of the pretty brand imaging. Now, if you saw yourself in any of those four women, keep watching because what I'm about to tell you applies to every single one of you. Okay, now here's where the data gets a bit touchy. There's a body of research economists love to cite called the pretty privilege effect. I'm sure you might have heard of it already. And on the surface, it sounds like great news. Attractive people on average earn more. Studies out of labor economics have clocked it at anywhere from 3 to 4% more over a career, which sounds small until you compound it over 30 years. So the headline actually writes itself. Being beautiful pays. Wearing makeup pays. If you don't invest in your appearance, studies show that you get penalized on the spot. You get rated as less competent, less put together, less worth the company's time before you've even said a word. So the incentive says invest, groom, polish, show up looking like you take yourself seriously. Except the moment you do that too well, a second penalty kicks in, and this one's harder to see coming. Researchers call it the beauty is beastly effect, and it's specifically documented in leadership track roles. Attractive women being considered for positions of authority get rated as less competent than their plainer counterparts with identical resumes, identical answers, and identical qualifications on paper. So the same words are coming out of her mouth. However, lower credibility is assigned to them purely because the packaging didn't match what people expect competence and intelligence to look like. And these results have been replicated across multiple hiring studies, and the pattern holds specifically for women chasing authority, not women in decorative or service-facing roles where attractiveness gets rewarded without penalty. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. The same face that gets you hired faster for a support role becomes a liability the moment you're up for the corner office. It's sad, no? It's like competence and beauty are only allowed to coexist below a certain rank. Now, I want you to put a man in that same chair. Attractiveness for men doesn't trigger any of this. It, in fact, runs in the opposite direction. An attractive man gets assumed competent. He gets assumed capable. He gets the benefit of the doubt before he's proven anything. There's no beastly effect waiting for him at the leadership door. No one's calculating whether his jawline is going to cost him the promotion. Run the same resume, the same interview, the same photo through the same hiring committee, and swap only the gender, and the entire penalty disappears. No, it's not a one-off or a personality quirk of a few biased managers. That's a pattern showing up over and over in control studies. The tax we've been describing this whole time, it's gathered at the root, and pretending otherwise just keeps women stuck arguing with a version of the problem that doesn't exist. So no, the tax isn't optional, and it was never yours to negotiate. It's the toll on a road that was paved before you were born, built by assumptions about what competent looks like and who gets to hold power. Take a look at Rihanna for 30 seconds and you'll see the entire argument settled without a single word of theory. Fenty isn't a beauty brand that happens to be attached to a famous face like so many celebrity-facing brands are. It's a business built directly on top of that face. That image, that unmistakable visual authority she spent over a decade constructing in public. Now, it's my personal opinion that she's not much of a singer, right? But her face is absolutely breathtaking. And she didn't downplay the asset to be taken seriously as a founder. Indeed, she monetized it and turned it into the most valuable makeup launch in the history of that category. Nobody in the boardroom was confused about whether she was smart. The image did exactly what it was built to do. It opened the door that made her billions. There's a name for this in research, and it comes from a sociologist named Catherine Hakem, who spent years arguing that attractiveness functions as its own category of power, alongside economic capital and cultural capital. She called it erotic capital. And her point wasn't that it's shallow or that it should replace intelligence. Her point was that it's measurable. It's real. And pretending it doesn't exist just means you can't manage it on purpose. It shows up in hiring, in negotiations, in who gets remembered in a room full of strangers. Ignoring that doesn't make you above it. It just makes you unequipped to use it. Now think about the last time you left a meeting and could recall exactly one person's face and nothing else about them. That's erotic capital doing its job in real time. And this is exactly where most women get stuck, because they've been taught to treat beauty and intelligence like they're competing for the same shelf space, like leaning into one automatically empties the other. So they either overinvest in their face and their body and let their intelligence and their minds go quiet, or they overinvest in their mental capacities and they let their style, their face, their hair, their figure go unaddressed. Convinced that's what seriousness in corporate or building a business is all that is required. Now, neither here is the move. These aren't rival resources fighting for the same budget. They're stacked capital, stacked strategies sitting on top of one another. And the woman who understands that isn't choosing between them. The woman who's beating you isn't choosing between them. She's compounding them. The correction here, my darling, is simpler than it sounds, and it's the same principle that governs actual money. Capital only works when it's managed. Hide it completely and it does nothing for you, sitting there unused while everyone underestimates what you're capable of. Overspend it, i.e. lead with nothing but your image, and you confirm every assumption the influencer gets stuck with. We're going to flip this around completely for a second, because I don't want you watching this and walking away thinking the answer is just wear more makeup, do your hair, and call it a day. That is not what I'm saying. Let's talk about you. You're smart. I know you are. You're capable. You worked for every single thing that you have. You're high achieving. You might be in the C-suite. You might be a business owner. Maybe you're a 9-to-5, you're burnt out and you want to build your own business. Perhaps you are in pageantry and you're always reaching top 3, but you can never quite get the crown. You've built real expertise. You know your industry. You work harder than almost anyone around you, and you still keep getting passed over. What gets people to notice you first, ladies, I need you to understand this, is your presentation. It's your beauty. That's it. It is the biggest lever a woman can have in society. If all you're going to do is rely on your degrees and your doctorates and all of these things, you lost the plot. What gets you respected once they're paying attention to you, once you now have eyes on you, is now layering that with your intelligence. And then that respect that you've now earned is what actually holds the door open once you're in the room that you desire to be in. Beauty gets you in the door, and now what actually solidifies you as an icon, nay, as a duchess, as the woman other people want to emulate, is combining that beauty with soft power, communication mastery, and a presence that holds the room. Skip any of those signals and your intelligence and beauty just sits there in the background. Real and true, but nobody in the room ever sees it because nothing else got built on top of that to carry the beauty and the intelligence forward. It's beauty and your competence and the way you speak and the way you make other people feel, your social savvy, your presence. You have to stack all of these on top of one another, working in the same direction. The women out there who earn more than you aren't just groomed. They were presumably doing their actual jobs well too. The presentation didn't replace the substance, it revealed it. And this is the real lesson underneath everything I've said today. Beauty is strategy, intelligence as well, but neither one compounds on its own. They only become real power when they're paired together on purpose, communicated deliberately, and shown to the room instead of left sitting there as two separate, unused strengths. Now, let's go back to the 4 women I mentioned at the beginning because I want to give you something practical. If you're the influencer who only gets asked about your hair and makeup routines, it's time to start talking about your substance behind your brand. As intentionally as you style a photo, say the smart things out loud. Let people see the strategy behind the aesthetic and not just the aesthetic itself. If you are an aspiring pageant queen or any beauty adjacent woman who freezes the second a camera stops being about your appearance, it's time to invest in your speaking voice and your poise and presence with the same seriousness you invest in your image. Nobody hands you a polished interview voice or quick-witted answers for free. You build it the same way you built the walk, the same way you built the smile, the repetition until it's automatic. Now, if you're the corporate woman being reduced to the pretty one in the room, it's time to sharpen how you communicate your ideas so they can't be repeated by someone else and credited to them instead. I want you to make the ideas unmistakably yours. Say it with enough specificity, enough of your own unique language wrapped around it, so much so that anybody else repeating it sounds like they're plagiarizing you instead of coming up with an original thought. And now, if you are my darling entrepreneur, your content is beautiful, but there might be some thinness there. And here's what I need you to understand. People want to know you. They want to know the founder behind the brand now more than ever. And they need to see the frameworks in your mind so they can decide whether to buy what you're selling. Your beautiful brand gets attention. People tell you that all the time, but that's not going to convert on its own. If they don't understand what you're selling, what your beliefs are, and why you believe what you believe, and why they need your product, they're not going to buy it, no matter how good your brand photos look. In every single case, the fix is the same. Image, communication, presence, and soft power working in a beautiful symphony together. Not one instead of the other. All 4 aligned. So no, beautiful women are not actually stupid. They only become stupid when beauty is the only thing they've ever used to get by in life. When the only joy you get out of your beauty are the likes you get on social media or the compliments you receive. How is that adding money in your bank account, increasing your influence, increasing your respect? What actually happens is that either asset, beauty or intelligence, sitting alone and underdeveloped is what stops you from making more money. It stalls your career. It stalls your social advancement. And if you're building a business, it stalls the clients who should be lining up for you. When you use all of these as a strategy, real feminine power is unlocked here. It becomes unrivaled horsepower. You open status, more money in your bank account, more opportunities, and you become more well-known and more respected. And underneath all of that, your confidence increases tenfold. Now, if this resonated with you and you want to work with us directly on your image, your executive presence, your communication mastery, and your poise, your entire personal brand, you can email us at hello@theduchessacademy.com. If you want somewhere to start today, we do have a mini course called Look Like a Duchess. It walks you through how to dress for your actual body type, understand your color season, choose the right fabrics, and build a wardrobe that finally works for you instead of against you. The link, again, is in the description box. If this video today gave you any value, please do me a favor, like it, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling me which one of these 4 women you saw yourself in today. I do read every single comment, and I respond to each one. And if you can do me a quick favor, I am brand new to YouTube. We've had our channel here for about a year or so, but I'm only now posting videos to YouTube. And so please let me know if the audio is coming through crystal clear and if the visuals are coming through crystal clear. In the past, I know I had some audio and some visual issues, but I'm hoping with each iteration I can get better. So if you have any feedback at all, I am all ears. Thanks again, my friend, for being here with me.